Hello and welcome. My name is Kurt Vest. I'm here at Owls. We are together at the Vice tonight. We're putting together tonight one of the patterns from the life cycle of Mayfly. We're going to be putting together a few of these patterns so that hopefully you can pick up some tips and techniques for your own tying at home. Hope you enjoy it. Before we get started tonight, just to explain a little bit about the life cycle of the Mayfly. Mayfly has, four distinct life stages: the nymph, the emerger or the cripple, the adult or the dun, and the spent adult or the spinner. So we're going to be tying patterns that represent each of these stages in the life cycle. In this video, we're going to be tying the Mayfly spent adult or spinner. So this is a rusty spinner, and this fly is designed to imitate the final stage of the Mayfly, which is the spent Mayfly or the spinner. And when they die, they kind of turn this, they go from kind of this pale, watery, olivey yellow color to more of like a dark tan, rusty brown color. And so this is, hence the name, the rusty spinner. We're going to be using a hook. This is a TMCO 101, and it's a straight eye hook, and this is a size 14. And for thread, I'm actually switching from Vivus. I'm actually going to a SemperFli thread. This is their Nano silk. I like this thread because it helps me just to keep the profile of this fly really thin and slender. So we're going to start by putting thread on the hook, and we'll get this thread started and wrap a thread base down and wrap it down to that hook point, or down to that barb rather, and put a nice thread base on the hook. When you're tying with this Nano silk, it's a gel spun poly, so it's really a strong thread. And the tail we're using material is this whiting tailing pack. It's a Coq de Leon feather in kind of a light, I believe this is called light Pardo, but it's just a light kind of speckled feather. I'll show this to you, show it to the camera. So it's got these really long kind of stiff fibers, and this is what we're going to be using when these mayflies die, or when they mate and die. Their tails actually kind of elongate, and they're a lot longer. Normally when we're tying a dun, we're tying about body length for the tail. When we're tying a spinner, we want to be body length and a half for the tail. So we're actually going to extend that out. So it's going to be a little bit longer than what a typical, maybe a dun pattern would look like. So we're going to start by getting those tail feathers measured and tied in, so they're about a length and a half of the hook shank. And I've got maybe a dozen feather fibers there. And we're going to tie those in. And we're going to do a similar trick that we did with the Thorax dun. We're going to use a piece of, this is just kind of a rusty thread. This is like a Vivus thread or something. I wouldn't use this thread, it's pretty slick and slender, but this is like a 6/0 or an 8/0 Vivus thread, and I tie it around or loop it around the hook shank, and I twist it up so it becomes a single kind of thread. And we're going to bring this up, and again we're going to sort of roughly split these fibers into two groups so that this tail is kind of splayed out in a V. Okay, so we're splayed out in a V here, and then we're going to be able to kind of knock that thread on and lash down. So we're just going to sort of hold these out of the way, and we'll get this little thread out of there, and we're just going to sort of bring this thread back to the base of where we tied those in, and I'm just kind of preening these back as I go, because if I can get a wrap or two on them, it'll just help to kind of control where those fibers go. And if you're not totally even, I've got quite a few more on this side. I thought I had them right. We'll just trim some of those out and we'll even it up. So there's our tail for our spinner. And we're going to now tie in our body, and this is a Biot body. This is a dark tan colored. You can use rusty spinner colored. You can use gray or tan or brown or black. When these mayflies die, pay attention to what your bugs look like and try to mimic them. This is kind of a suit to match type pattern. You can change the colors out on these quite a bit, but we're going to tie in this little biot, and again tying it in so it will be a slick body with that thin edge leading. I'm just going to put a little bit of taper into this, build up a little bit of a taper into that abdomen. And when we're tying with biots, I like to use a little bit of this fly tire Z-Mint just to make it a little bit more durable. Just a touch on those thread wraps will help that biot when it goes down to not get so, to be more durable. Okay, we're just going to attach a hackle plier to this, and we're going to start our biot. And we're just doing touching turns, covering up kind of that rough edge of the previous turn, so that finished product hopefully is a nice, smooth, segmented body. Some of these mayfly species have really pronounced segmentation, and these biots are a great way to imitate that. So when we get up, where we're gonna put our wing, we're gonna tie that off. We have now just a nice smooth, and it's pretty slender. When these mayflies die, they're spent. They've kind of lived their life, and they're pretty slender. They aren't real bulbous. They're pretty thin profile. So we're going to put in a wing now. For a wing, I use a little bit of this. This material is just out of Hairline. It's the Parapost. This is in just a light gray, and this is going to be oodles. I'm just going to take a little piece out from this packaging, and this is way more than I need. This is probably, gosh, 4 times more than I need. So I'm going to split this out, and I'm going to take out what I want. I want this to be kind of a sparse wing. It's real easy to overwing these spinners when you're tying them, and I think they fish better if they're a little bit less. So take out what you need and then go a little bit less even. So that's about what I want, I think. I'm going to tie this in kind of in a figure 8 style. I've got these fibers kind of pinched in the middle, kind of like a little bow tie, and that's how we're going to tie them onto the hook shank. We're going to take a couple of wraps on this side, and then we're going to sort of change directions, kind of a figure 8, go around it this way now. And that is going to secure that wing, kind of this spent, laid out fashion. So that's my wing. Now we're going to tie in a hackle. For hackle, I've got, this is just a Whiting Farms, it's just a saddle or a half saddle, and this is just in a Grizzly. And I've sized this to be just a little bit bigger. This is a size 14 hook, and I'm sizing this to about a size 12 hook. So it's a little bit bigger, and that's just because it helps to kind of imitate that profile a little bit better of those wings spent, wings and legs spent in the water. So I do that same trick where I just trim off, you know, the lowest 7 or 8 fibers on both sides, and it just creates this little spiky tag that you can tie in really well, and it holds really, really nicely. And we're going to just lay this in on the hook shank and tie in before and behind the wing, just like so. Okay, and we're going to dub this body. For this body, I have just this selection of the Nature Spirit Fine Natural Dubbing, and I'm using just a mix of a couple colors. I've got a rusty spinner color, and I've got a little calabatus color, and we'll do a little bit of dark brown trico, and I kind of try mix that. So I've got basically 3 colors that I'm mixing together, so it makes kind of a muted brown, kind of a muted rusty color, and I'm just mixing those together with my fingers. And so I've got that mixed up how I want. I just dub this on and dub this on real thin. These bodies of these spent spinners are real slender. You don't want it to be super bulbous or super big. You can always add more if you need. I just try and do a small amount of that mix, that dubbing mix, and we're gonna just kind of dub this on. We're gonna dub behind the wing, so you can kind of fold this wing up and out of the way a little bit. That helps to get it out of your way. Kind of twist it together. I'm gonna dub a decent little sized body here behind, and I'm gonna come up, split this wing out again, and I'm gonna come up in front of the wing now and kind of build up a little body in front. And you can figure eight through that wing if you want to, just to create a little bit more division between them. But that's about what I'm looking for, kind of just a little bit more round body. And now we're going to take this hackle, and same thing, we're going to fold those wings up and kind of twist them so they're out of our way. And we're going to see if we can get a couple, 2 or 3 turns behind the wing. And then we're going to go a couple, 2 or 3 turns in front of the wing. And that's about right. So we're going to just tie that off right at the eye, and just be careful to try not to trap too many fibers with your hackle there. And we're going to do a little securing wrap, folding everything back, and I'm going to wrap over that stem just to put a little bit more durability into that. Hopefully that hackle won't pull out. And we're going to just take our scissor tip and pop out that hackle tip of that feather, just like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring all these fibers up, and we're going to do kind of a no-seam trick here. The Phil Bear no-seam is a really good fly that Phil Bear developed down on the Provo River. And we're going to do a little technique where we pull all those hackle fibers up, and we're going to loop around underneath. And what this does is it helps to gather those fibers up kind of in a sunburst pattern, so that they are able to, you don't have to trim any of those fibers out. It'll still lay down flat in the water column, nice and low, but you're keeping all those fibers for flotation. And we'll take one more pass. We're just doing kind of a figure 8 under those hackle fibers, like so. Now we're gonna whip finish, and we're gonna finish this fly. Okay, so we're gonna kind of preen out our wings, preen out our hackle, and we have basically what we want. We're gonna trim these wings. I'm gonna take a real sharp angle, kind of about the length of those hackle fibers, and just trim that one wing, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. Sharp angle, trim that second wing, and try and make those just as even as we can. And just kind of teasing that. You can mess with those wings. If you're not loving the trim, you can do a little bit more trim on those if it's just a little bit too long for you still. That's about right. Okay, last step, we're just going to put a little drop of head cement on this. I like to put the head cement on the bottom where we did those little thread wraps to keep those gathering wraps to keep those hackle fibers up. Sorry if I moved out of the camera there. And that thread just kind of soaks that in, and that will add durability to those little exposed thread wraps. But that is the PMD Rusty Spinner, or my version of Rusty Spinner, the Biot body and a Coq de Leon tail. It's a real effective pattern. It's great. During heavy mayfly hatches, sometimes those fish will key in on the spinner more than anything. It's a real vulnerable life cycle stage for that mayfly. Tice them up. Well, we hope you enjoyed those videos. Thanks for watching. If you're looking for more information about tying your own flies, getting started with fly tying or fly fishing, check out owls.com or come into any of Owl's sporting goods stores. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.